another episode of A Moment of Tiki, coming to you from the Lagoon of Mystery, my home tiki bar here in Central Texas. For this episode, I intend to create a tiki lamp out of another found object. In this case, this decorative, this glass and metal fish that Lisa found at an estate sale. But as I was planning to work on it, I came across some questions online that kind of got the old gears turning in my head. There were some newcomers to Tiki, and they were asking online whether one should use LED bulbs or incandescent bulbs in the construction of their Tiki lights. Now, they were questioning this because some veteran Tiki lamp builders were insisting that incandescent is the only type of light bulb that is acceptable for use in Tiki lighting. And I found this interesting because I encountered that same argument when I first got into Tiki. And it's an interesting position to take. Now, they are correct in this assessment. At the same time, the information is outdated, what they are basing their arguments on. So I thought I would take you on a step-by-step explanation of what type of lighting, LED versus incandescent, one should use in their Tiki bulbs. Now, an incandescent bulb, that is the traditional Thomas Edison type that is being phased out for the most part. The bulb uses a filament suspended between two prongs, and electrical current is run through this filament, which heats up and emits light. For the most part, this generates a lot of heat, and it also generates a warm light. There are various different types of incandescent bulbs in various different temperatures, but for the most part, it's going to create a warm, rich light in the yellow spectrum. It also generates quite a lot of heat at the same time. Now, LEDs, on the other hand, generate light by running a very small amount of current through a diode, a light-emitting diode, which is where they get their name, LED. It generates very little heat. It puts out a lot of light comparative to the amount of energy that's put into it. But I can tell you why the original Tiki lamp builders soured on LEDs, and this is why. When light bulbs, traditional, Edison-based screw-in light bulbs first became popular about 20 years ago, the white diode that they used produced a very cool, very blue-tinged white light. And in a Tiki bar context, this isn't what you want. You want something that is warm and rich, yellows, ambers, reds, these type that will make it feel kind of cozy and intimate, as opposed to a blue-white harsh light that makes it feel more clinical or antiseptic or sterile. So that's why. I mean, it was a limitation of the technology. Fortunately, in the intervening years, getting away from me, LED technology has advanced considerably. We have LEDs that produce red, yellow, blue, green, amber, just a whole spectrum of colors, in addition to the Edison-based bulbs, which come in the traditional color temperature ranges, such as warm white, soft white, daylight. You're not just limited to that harsh blue-white light of the very early LEDs. My preference when I'm building lamps is to use C7 base. These are candelabra base. They look like Christmas lights. They're fully LED. They take very little power. They generate very little heat. They go into the candelabra sockets, and they generate light in whatever color you so choose. There are even C7 LEDs that are color changing. You can screw them in and they have different colored diodes embedded into the bulb itself, and it will rotate through a series of different colors before cycling back around. And I love this. I can plug it in, let it go, and not have to worry about it. But if you're more ambitious, there are Edison style, that's full-size light bulbs, that are Bluetooth compatible. You can download an app onto your phone, and you can control the colors that appear, that emanate from the light bulb. So if you're ambitious, you can get the app, and you can program them to strobe or to smoothly cycle through the color, or even just pick one color and stay that way. That's a little bit too much work for me. I'm lazy. I like the less effort possible. So I generally go and choose what color bulb that I want and go with that. Now, the incandescent equivalent to the C7 would be a incandescent C7. I don't have any of those, but I do have something all of you may be familiar with. These are C9 Christmas lights, and they're filament. They have a slightly larger base, but the concept is the same. And again, they come in all manner of colors, but the color is determined by the glass that the bulb is encased in, either an opaque type like this or a translucent glass. But regardless, they are all powered by a filament with power running through it, which in addition to the light generates quite a bit of heat. I'm not going to want to touch these in another minute or so because they are getting quite hot already. Obviously, this is a drawback if you have a tiki space in a warm climate or enclosed space where this lighting is going to generate an additional amount of heat, such as me here in Texas in the summertime. I don't want any additional heat whatsoever. Another aspect is that these are all glass and they are relatively fragile. I've broken so many of these over my lifetime, whereas the LEDs, these are made of a hard, high impact plastic. They're shatter resistant. They're not shatterproof, but short of stepping on one of these and putting all of your weight on it, they're not going to crack. Whereas, you know, these glass bulbs, you know, you look at them sideways and they'll break. So then you got to clean up glass. So that's not a whole lot of fun. So another point in favor of the LEDs. I mean, as you can see, I'm not really ambiguous about this. I think these LEDs are, you know, fantastic addition. They draw very little power. They create very little heat. You don't have to worry about, you know, anything with these. If you put too many incandescent bulbs on one circuit, and I've done this with Christmas lights, you're going to trip a circuit breaker. I have never put too many LED bulbs on a single circuit to pull the draw beyond what the breaker is capable of. So in my opinion, LEDs are superior across the board as long as you avoid these harsh blue-white older style LEDs. These are not appropriate for tiki. I will say in one instance, traditional, it's not really traditional, but incandescent technology does have a superior effect. You've all seen the flicker effect LED bulbs, which I've used myself many times. These are fantastic if they are enclosed behind some kind of diffusing material to give the flicker effect. If you are having a light bulb that is exposed, however, they look like an LED bulb with light going up and down. However, there is this older technology, this incandescent plasma. Now, I believe this is neon or argon gas inside this bulb. And when you run the current through it, there's two plates next to each other. It generates a erratic plasma illumination around these two connector plates and the current. And it is a pretty clever simulation of an open flame. Fortunately, this does not draw nearly as much power as your typical Edison bulb. It does draw a little more power than LED, but it's creating an entirely different effect. These aren't terribly common anymore. You have to search for them, but incandescent flicker flame, it's a CA for candelabra. These are almost exclusively candelabra bulbs. CA8, I believe, is one of the official designations for it. They're always in a flame bulb shape, and I use these anytime I have to have an exposed bulb that I want to have a flame effect going on without any type of diffusing material in between them. So these are pretty cool. So you might want to look for them to incorporate in your tiki space. With that bit of business out of the way, I'm ready to get to work on the fish lamp. One of the first things you notice is that one of the eyes are missing. So this is a fairly easy fix. I went to Michael's, and any craft store will have these, and got replacement eyes. These are just craft eyes with plastic washers. Now it's got a serrated end over here to go through. This one doesn't have that, doesn't have a space, so I'm just going to cut that end off using this pair of tin snip. 1 second, please. Okay, I have retrieved the wayward fish eye, and now I'm going to apply Scoop, which is a rubbery adhesive. It's flexible, and I think it'll work really well in this situation, to the back of the eye. Put a generous amount there. Now, I'm going to position it in place. Oh yeah, I think that's indistinguishable from the original right there. It looks good. Okay, so for the next step, I need to do something about the glass. This glass it's really cool. It's bubbled and irregular to simulate fish scales, but it's also clear, so I don't think it will diffuse and diffract the light that I have in here very effectively. So in order to improve the function of this as a lamp, I am going to take some of the glass spray paint, diffusion level spray paint that I used, you might remember last year when I sprayed the clear glass balls for the fish floats. So what I'm going to do is take it, spray it down in the middle after I tape off this so it doesn't get any on there. And hopefully I'm going to be able to get enough on the inside to act as a diffusion layer. I can't get in there very effectively, but I think the aerosol effect will ultimately work in my favor. All the paint has dried on the fish, so I am unwrapping it. Oh, that turned out nice. Fishy is nice and opaque. This will work well. Okay, so now I have to install the light. The fish has two little loops right here in his mouth, or her mouth, whichever. I haven't been able to gender this fish. I believe it was probably used to hang and be displayed like this. I am going to use these to mount the light. Now, for the light, I'm using one of the small sockets. I use these in almost all of my light builds. It's a candelabra socket, Old's candelabra-sized LED C7 lights. Taken the non-conductive cardboard sleeve and applied a black coat of paint on it, just so it will be non-reflective, and put that into place. Now, to mount it into the fish's mouth, I'm cheating a little bit, just a little bit, because I have had this little metal spider thing It's 2 strands of wire, and they're looped in the center and welded there. And so it's like 4 prongs. So I've taken, it's been floating around here for a long time. I never knew what I would do with it, but I held on to it because it looked useful, and now I'm giving it some use. I've bent these 2 prongs of the wires to slot into the hoops, the loops, the hooks in the fish mouth. And these 2 I'm going to bend forward to position it vertically, hold it in place so it doesn't flop around. Now, to mount the socket into the spider, I'm going to use this threaded hollow rod, which screws right into the base right here. I've used these on other builds before. Now, this would slip right through there because this is a somewhat wide circular hole there. So I am putting on a brass washer, sliding the spider on top of that, adding another brass washer on top, and then taking this brass nut and threading it down on top to hold the entire assembly in place. There we go. That's pretty solid staple. And you can see I'm going to bend these prongs forward and just slide this whole thing in to hook into position so it'll be propped up and shining right in the middle of the fish. That's looking pretty good. Now that we see how this is going to go into the fish, we need to take it out for a little bit so we can wire the fish. Okay, this is the electrical wire I'm using. It's because it's a low voltage, low power. It is a 18-2, so that's, you know, fairly small lamp cord, but it should be just about right for us. And the fish metal head right here has a gap between the glass and there, and so I'm going to thread this right in between the open gap right there. Pull this through and ta-da! Making it look easy, huh? Cut the wire. I'm going to split the wire in 2 so we can strip and then attach to the socket. That's working well. Okay. My wire stripper right here, using the 18, and spin a couple of times. Twist. These are a bunch of braided wires. It's not solid. So I'm going to twist these so they stay together and are easier to work with. With the wires stripped, it's time to connect them to the terminals. The ribbed wire right here, you can feel there's a series of ribs on the wire casing. The insulation is ribbed. This is the neutral wire. The side that's smooth, the insulation smooth, that is the positive. So we're going to thread this through the hollow core tube that we've connected here, and I have to use this to hold these. The positive wire is going to connect to the gold terminal. The neutral wire is going to connect to the silver terminal. Now, with both terminals wired up, we're going to return the non-conductive cardboard sleeve over the top to prevent any shorts, which wouldn't be good. And I am going to thread in my LED bulb. This is a color changing bulb, which I quite like for these. Now we insert it into the fish's mouth, making sure to get both of the hooks into the loops in the front of its mouth. And bending this bottom prong down, where is my point? So it will support the light in the center of the fish. Oh, very nice. Pull this. There's no wire sticking out of the fish's front mouth. This is a fairly thin aluminum or steel or whatever the metal is right here. So I'm going to drill a hole through it and just use this 2 braided picture hanging wire to hang it. This isn't super heavy, so this will work just fine. Easy, straightforward. Don't need to make it more complicated than it has to be. I've got a piece of 2x4 I'm sticking under the fin to support it, and a drill. And I'm just going to punch a hole right through the fin, right about the midpoint where it's balanced out evenly. And picture wire will slip right through there. Voila! The hanging, glowing glass fish. Now, let's go get it installed. Well, here's my fish installed, and I think it looks fantastic. The light is subtle, but I've got some supplemental lighting illuminating here so you can see my beauteous face as I speak to you, but in the darkened conditions of my Tiki Bar. Under normal circumstances, the cycling colors just look pretty freaking cool. So, I'm not a purist by any means. I subscribe to the Don the Beachcomber aesthetic of decorating. That is, any type of flotsam and jetsam that I come across is fair game for my tiki space, and this fish certainly fits the bill. And I hope that in addition to seeing how I just repurpose random items that I come across, you also have a better understanding of the LED versus incandescent light debate that surfaces from time to time in tiki circles. I come down pretty much squarely on the LED side. There are some exceptions when the incandescent bulbs are more appropriate, but you make that call for yourself, but do so with the knowledge that I have armed you with. So until next time, for the Smooth Mystery, aloha.